Hello and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and today we're going to start on a project that's probably going to be several different parts, but each one of them will be somewhat independent of the previous one. I'm standing here at the Wilton number 4 vise right now, but we're not going to be working with this. I did do an earlier restoration on this vise. You might want to check out that video and see that restoration. And also built this stand that it's sitting on. Check that video out as well. But what we're going to work on today is a vise, but it's considerably different. This is a, let me get it up here. This is a post vise or a leg vise that I recently picked up at an auction, and this series of videos is going to include restoring this, but don't leave me. This is not one of the several dozen out there that's all it's going to be about is rust removal. We've actually got several parts we need to make for this vise, pieces that are missing. Let me get it set up here in the Wilton vise, and I'll zoom in and show you some of the different projects we're going to be working on. Okay, I've got the post vise mounted here in the Wilton vise, and I don't know a whole lot about these vises. I just think they're neat to have. Some people call them blacksmith vises, but I posted a picture of this on a Facebook Vise and Anvil group, and several folks replied back to me and told me this was a Peter Wright vise. They called it a Peter Wright 1890. Again, now I don't know, I know very, very little about these vices other than I think they're cool. They're commonly called blacksmith vices as well. But the way they identified this as being a Peter Wright was this mounting bracket back here, the shape of this mounting bracket. Now there's a couple things that's wrong with this vise right now that needs some fixing. One of them is obvious here. The return spring is gone. There should be a spring in here that brings the jaw back. This mount right here that connects the vise to the mounting bracket is also incorrect. This should be flat on this side to hold the spring in place, and it should have slots in here where a wedge can go in to wedge it tight against the mounting block again. Another thing, this should have a thrust washer at minimum on this side, and most likely on both sides. However, this side is keyed, and so the thread block cannot turn. But there's an awful lot of wear in here because of the missing thrust washer, and this is kind of rounded off in here as well. One other thing that's missing down here, there should be a square nut. I don't guess you can see it now in the video, but what this hinges on, the movable jaw hinges right down here. This is a hand forged bolt as well that the nut is missing off of. Now I'm not going to replace that with just a store-bought hex bolt. I'm going to try to salvage this bolt and make a square nut to go on it. Also, as you can see, the handle is got a pretty serious bend in it right there, and the post itself, or the leg, has got a few bends in it as well. So we got several items to take care of on this vise. I want to keep it as original as I can, but at the same time I want to make it a usable vise. This vise, as I said in the beginning, I bought it at an auction several weeks ago, well, close to a month ago now. It was donated to that auction by a very good friend of mine named Rex. The proceeds from that auction go to the FFA, local high schools, Future Farmers of America, if you're not familiar with what FFA is. But my friend Rex donated this vise to that auction. It's one that he had picked up from a relative many years ago, had plans to restore and just never got around to it. I want to dedicate this video and all the videos in this series to Rex. At the time I'm recording this, Rex is going through some kind of difficult times with his heart. He's scheduled to go in for heart valve replacement or repair either the latter part of this week or first of next week. So I'm dedicating this video and all in this series to my good friend Rex, and I'm trusting all will be well. What we're going to do to begin with in this project, as I said, stick with me. This is not just a rust removal project on YouTube. There's going to be quite a lot of machining in this. I want to take out the screw. Now the threads on the screw are not the best in the world. There's a few missing right up here at the end, but I have checked at several different locations and I can lock the jaws down. So I'm not going to do anything with this. The only thing I am going to do is once I get the handle out, I'm going to put this in the lathe and square that off and put just a little bit of flat on this edge here. Then we're going to machine a thrust washer to go over this outside that this will fit into. We want this part to fit in that thrust washer and the outside diameter be across here. The threads in the thread barrel look reasonable as well. As you can see, this is keyed. So I don't think I'm going to do anything on this end as far as the thrust. There's no wear really there that needs any help. So I'm going to get set up first to take this handle out of the screw. Okay, looking over the handle, it appears to me that this ball was probably forged into the handle at the time the handle was made. That this ball was forged at the same time. It's not quite as round as the one on the other end. And I think I'm seeing on this end too where the pin goes through. So I'm going to set this up and do a little grinding on this end right here. I'm using a flat disc. I don't want to get too aggressive, and see if I can see the outline of where the pin on this handle was driven through this and then peened over. Okay, I think I'm faintly seeing the outline, but we're going to try a few punches. Just going to let that hang loosely in there. All right, I'm not seeing any movement yet. I'm going to keep doing a little grinding on this end, and if I don't get that to move, I'll go try the other end, but I'm pretty sure this is the one that was slipped over and then peened. I'll bring you back when I get a little closer to getting this knob off. All right, I'm going to have to drop back 10 and punt on getting this off, one of these ends off. I ground all I could stand to grind. I just don't want to distort the original shape of it any more than I have to. But I could not find any sign of where one of these was turned down to a pin and driven in there. I don't see sign on either side. I guess it's possible that they forged the ball on one end threaded it through, heated the other end, and then forged the ball on that end. I've not seen that practice in any of the videos that I've watched, but I guess it's possible. So I just don't want to grind any more on it. And as round as this looks on the inside, I'm convincing myself that both ends were forged. So what I'm going to do, I've got to get this handle out to be able to fix this, to turn that flat. So what I'm going to do is put this out here and cut this knob off of this end. I'll then thread this, both pieces, and put a piece of all thread in between. I won't go all thread, obviously, all the way out to the end. It's not the way I really wanted to fix this, but it's the only way I can see to get the handle off without completely destroying the original ends. Okay, so now we can take the handle out. This is what I want to concentrate on today in this video. We'll come back to straightening the handle and fixing that knob so that we can put it back on in a later video. But we're going to go over to the lathe now. I'm probably going to clean this up first, but I'm not going to try to video that. I'm just going to use some simple green, wash these threads out good, get this cleaned up, set up in the lathe, and then I'll bring you back and we'll start turning this. Okay, I got the screw cleaned up good. I thought when I first looked at this that I'd probably replace it, but this is a 1 inch. It's a 1 inch shaft, and it appears to have been a 4 thread per inch Acme. Now normally on a 1 inch it's 5 threads per inch. These are definitely worn, but the nut is worn as well. And like I said earlier, I've tried several places, different thicknesses, and cannot make the threads pop out, so they're still holding. Now interestingly, there's about 2 threads missing or broke off right here, but this part never reaches the nut. So I suspect what happened sometime in the life of this vise, this area was exposed through the jaws up here, and somebody hit that with a pin or whatever and chipped those threads off. Looks like a vulnerable spot. Now I have no idea whatsoever that this is going to turn true. I'm not even going to try putting it into 4-jaw. Just trying to be sure that the teeth on the jaws are catching teeth on the threads. And that's pretty wild, but all we're wanting to do is turn this shoulder in here so we got a flat surface in there to mate with the thrust washer we're going to make, and we'll put just a flat lip on this. I suspect this is either cast iron or cast steel, so let's see how that's going to turn. I've got my cross slide actually locked down now, and I'm just using the compound to advance it a little bit at a time. And this is actually kicking a chip out of there. So this appears to be cast steel. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I think I can get it a little closer. All right, that's turning a whole lot straighter there, a whole lot truer. All right, before I get too far, I think I'll go ahead and turn a flat on this outside edge right here. All right, being hand forged, obviously it's not perfectly round, but that's got a flat that we can work with to for our thrust washer, and that appears to be good and round in here as well, or not round but flat. So I'm just going to take the file and knock that edge off just a little. All right, take that out and I'll give you a little closer look at what we've actually got now. So what we have now is a good flat surface in here for the to ride against the thrust washer, and we got a good flat on there that there'll be a recess, a pocket for this to go into. So I'm going to get the four-jaw on, and we're going to get set up to turn a square piece into a round piece to make our thrust washer. Okay, in the past you've seen me take a piece of square material like this and put an arbor in the three-jaw chuck and super glue, and then hold it in place with the tailstock and make round out of it. That would have probably worked with this, but this is half-inch thick material here. Let's see, it's about 2 3/4 squares. I cut it with the bandsaw. Then what I did was just put me a little indication mark in there. Use the tailstock and line that up, the live center. Line that up close. It's not exact, but it's plenty close to drill a hole with. What I want to use the four-jaw chuck for, though, is to drill a hole in this, and then we're gonna step drill it a couple times, and then bore it out to use a 7/8 inch expanding arbor. I've used these once before in one of the videos, but I think this will be a good place to use it now. After we get this drilled, we'll take the chuck off and turn this piece between centers. Okay, this hole is going to have to be bigger for the screw to actually go through. But for right now, that's the arbor size. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to put the back plate in. or the drive plate in. And we're going to turn this piece between centers. Okay, I think we're set up now, ready to make this square piece a round piece. Got it in the expanding mandrel. Got it mounted between centers now with the lathe dog and the drive plate. I'm taking small cuts to begin with till I get these corners rounded off. All right, I obviously got a ways to go on this, so I'll bring you back when we get a little closer. Okay, we got one little spot left right there. Then we'll check the size. The maximum size I wanted for that was 2.65. Let's see what it is now. That's 2.75. So that's going to come out just about right. I had cut that square about 20 thousandths over, 20 to 30 thousandths over. So let's make another pass, see if it cleans it up. All right, that cleaned it up, but it's not leaving a good finish at all. I'm pretty sure I chipped my insert, so I'm going to change the insert. I'll bring it back and we'll take this down to size. All right, I just checked it with the calipers again. We got about 40 more thousandths to take. Now I'm going to put a little chamfer on the back side, and then we're going to round over this front side. Now I'm going to try this form tool. I'm not the best in the world at grinding high-speed steel, but we're going to try this and see if we can put a little round over on this front edge. Okay, I saved your ears, but that was doing some hard chattering there, but the finish looks good, especially this is going on a rough piece to begin with. I know that's going to be hot, so I'm not even going to touch it. But I'm going to let this cool down a bit, and I'll carry it over to the press, get it off the expanding arbor, put the 3-jaw chuck back in, and then we'll start milling out the pocket. Remember, there's going to be a pocket in there that this will ride in, and then the hole will need to be big enough for that to go through. I'll bring you right back. Okay, here's where we are so far on our thrust washer. We've got the outside diameter turn. We've got a radius on here now. I'm going to mount this in the 3-jaw, and we're going to bore out this center hole first. We want to bore that out enough for our screw to go through. And this does not have to be a precision fit at all. Remember, this vise is not a precision tool. This is going to have some room to wiggle up and down, just simply because the dynamics of the movable jaw spreads in this manner instead of what you're used to on conventional vise. So we got to take at least about 125 thousandths out of this. I'll touch off. I'm just going to set my DRO, and we're going to go again about 125 thousandths. I've got my carriage stop set already for the depth. All right, let's see if going to take just one more cleanup pass on that, just to clean up where I drug the tool back out. Take about 5 thousandths off. All right, now I'm going to locate my backing spider, put that in there to pull this out to the edge. I'll bring you back. I'm not sure where my spider is right now, so I'll find that, get that set up, bring you back, and we'll start machining out the pocket. All right, I've got my backing spider in there now, got it mounted in, got it tight. I've got my carriage stop set down here to 1/4 inch from this face. So I'm going to go in 1/4 inch. And I've got a little witness mark around the outside here, and I've got the DRO set as well to so that I can get to this mark or get to my dimension. So we're going to, again, just continue boring. But we're just boring halfway through. think that's very close to what we're looking for. Since the hole in my spider is not big enough for the screw to go in, I'm just going to have to measure right now, compare the two. And again, we're not looking for a tight precision fit. 1.875. 1.860, 863. So we need 15 thousandths, 15 thousandths more to go. Remember, I had a dimension set on the DRO, so I'll come back to the 0 I had there. And then I'm just going to take about another 20 thousandths. All right, that's 1.882, so that's about 7 thousandths over. I'm happy with that. See if we can put a little chamfer on this edge right here and on that inside as well. See if I've got a tool that'll reach in there. Not quite happy with that chamfer. Let me try my deburring tool. I think that looks a whole lot better. All right, just right. So that is a good surface for these two to mate up against. Let me get the movable jaw over here. Trying to get this where you can see it. I just hit the emergency stop on the lathe just to be sure I don't accidentally turn it on with that laying up there. But this is going to sit right here. And right up here on one edge of this, I need to mill a little flat. And what that flat will be, that'll keep this from turning, which is what caused the wear on the removable jaw or the movable jaw to begin with. But that'll stop that from turning, so our two steel surfaces mate to each other. So I'm going over to the mill. I'll meet you over there, and we're going to mill just a flat on here, probably about 100 thousandths deep. All right, I already had the camera swung around here, but I happened to think about while I had the lathe set up with the spider on there, to go ahead and turn this face out here, or face this back and this edge right here. So now we're ready to set it in the mill. I'm going to touch off. And we're going to I'm going to start with about 25 thousandths. Okay, I'll meet you over at the workbench and we'll do a recap on this video. Okay, to recap what we've done in this video so far, of course we took the movable jaw off, we set this up in the lathe and squared this shoulder right here back up. We then bored out this bushing, or bored out this thrust washer to fit as such. So this will go on the movable jaw with the flat surface we just milled up against this forged tab up here. That will set in, and that will prevent any more wear between the threaded rod and the movable jaw. So I think that's going to wrap up this video. Next video we'll look at probably making the square nut for the hinge bolt that went in down here, and possibly for the collar that mounts the that connects the vise to the mounting bracket. So take care, and I'll see you on the next video.